I know you guys are chomping at the bit to get started, so let's do that. I wanted to talk really quick this morning about a little bit more of a serious topic, and it's come up recently in my professional life dealing with a client. She's alone, deteriorating, knows it, sees it, movement is less, it's getting harder to get in and out of the car, and there's a little bit of loneliness there. And that happens a lot as we age. You know, one of the things you learn as you get older, you begin to lose stuff. You know, you lose your sense of balance, you lose your hair, right? And then sometimes you lose people. And that's one of the things that I am learning in this job is I'm just like you guys. I have clients, I make friends. Clients are usually 5, 6, 14-year relationships in some cases. And then they pass away. And so I see that loss, and that's something I didn't anticipate when I first started doing what I'm doing, but I see a lot of loss. And so what impact does that loneliness have in our daily lives, in our balance, in our mobility? Well, it's not just the loneliness, it's social participation that we're missing, and you guys know how important that is for our brains and how it's connected to our balance, but also the fear of falling. And the fear of falling can actually become a phobia for some folks. And so I found a study that was aimed at examining the relationship between falls, the fear of falling, loneliness, and social participation. It was a bunch of people, over 50,000 people. We all know falls are a leading cause of accidental injuries and fatalities globally, and they're considered risk factors for significant morbidity, early mortality, and associated healthcare costs. You want to see eyes perk up when you talk about falls? If you've got an audience falling asleep on you, start talking about the cost of falls that are coming out of pocket. Not insurance, but comes out of pocket. In Florida, the average cost, if you were to fall, break a bone, go into therapy, it's going to be out of pocket somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 out of pocket, right? So the most common consequence associated with the risk of falling in older adults is the fear of falling. How many of us experience, and I'm not trying to call anybody out, just think in your head, how many times or how many of you are afraid to fall and you have a real fear of falling? For some folks, this actually can become a phobia. If you don't use it, you lose it. And a lot of people who fall, they think if I sit more, my risk of falling is less. Well, yes, that's true. However, that's not necessarily good, because when you're not up and moving around, what are you losing? Your leg strength. And we know from this class that leg strength is gold, and it is the key. So what this study did was it looked at these fear of falls and the fear of falling and talked about the stress and the implication that it has on your overall health. Think about what happens if this fear of falling takes over. When you lose confidence, you start limiting your social participation too. And then we know what that does to the brain. Very good study. I'm going to go through this really quick. I'm going to get to the end. That's what we're all waiting for. So let's zoom over there. And so what this study was able to do in terms of loneliness, fear of falling, and social isolation is that the magnitude of the relationships between those three show a clear and consistent pattern. Focusing on fear of falling and actual falls, both variables had a positive effect on each other. Of all the predictors of falls, fear of falling stands out as the variable with the largest effect. So our goal here is to make you strong, mobile, and independent for the rest of your life and develop that confidence with those proprioceptively enriched environments, stable but unstable. And those will vary in degree and our ability. But the ideal is to get you in an unstable position, develop confidence. As you get better, we'll increase the difficulty, all right? And that way we can avoid the fear of falling, hopefully, all right? Thank you. You guys have been great. I'll be here all week. Let's stand. Let's go behind those chairs. Well done. We're going to start Feet are going to be hip width apart, knees slightly bent, core tight. Close your eyes. Get your bearings. Once you do, you can raise those hands off that chair. Very good. Holding this position for 15 seconds. Eyes closed, core tight. Good. 3, 2, 1, and time. Very good. Now let's bring our feet as close together as we can get them. Really, really close. Again, knees slightly bent, core tight, hands on the chair. Close your eyes. Very good. Get your bearings. Once you do, you can raise those hands off that chair. If you need to use 1 or 2 fingers to stay in contact, that's fine. Good. Concentrating. 3, 2, 1, and time. Good. Now let's turn. We're going to face this direction. We're going to put the chair on the right side. We're going to balance on our right foot. First round, eyes are open. Eyes are open. So find your focal point.